Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Ryan. I'm a personal finance enthusiast slash content creator and also a personal finance coach. Today I want to be talking about personal finances 101 in my opinion. So this is what everyone I believe should be doing in terms of their personal finance. So before we jump into it and before I forget, please remember to like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Please leave a comment if there's anything that I may have missed. So the first thing is your money mindset. There are levels to this, and to be honest, this could be a video all on its own because it's quite a big topic, but I'm going to try and summarize it the best I can. First thing you want to think about in terms of your money mindset, I want you to ask yourself, or you should ask yourself, is do you want to be rich or do you want to act rich? When you act rich, and if you have that visualization of, you know, the Lambo and the bling and bottles, whatever, if you have that visualization, it's great because you see where you want to be, but it's bad in terms of like you're not actually seeing how to get there. A lot of people who want to act rich, they don't actually think about how they're going to get there, and they're focusing on the money when they haven't actually got it yet. If you start changing that, or start asking yourself or start telling yourself that you want to be rich, you start realizing that you don't want to pay 200 grand for a Lambo because you want to figure out how to make 200 grand. Buying the Lambo, buying whatever it is, can come afterwards. Have a think about changing your money mindset if you are thinking that you want to act rich rather than thinking how to get rich. And I'm not saying it's wrong to think like that. I think you should have that as a vision, as a goal, but also understand that you need to work, you need to think differently if you want to get rich. The next thing in terms of your money mindset is your limiting beliefs. So the way you think about something determines the way you feel about it, and the way you feel about it determines how you act on it. If you want to buy something and then you turn around and say, oh no, I can't afford it, bang, right there, you can't afford it. That has stopped. Like, you've automatically said to yourself, you can't afford it, and then that's the end of conversation like you've had in your head. If you switch that to be like, I want to buy something, how can I afford it? Your mind opens up to be like, oh, maybe I can get a second job, maybe I can borrow money, maybe I can do this, maybe I can do that. You haven't limited that belief thinking that you can't afford it. So just changing from I can't to how can I is like a huge thing. And a lot of people do that. Like, I speak to a lot of people and they're like, oh yeah, but you know, after I've paid off my bills and stuff, I just can't afford it. But how can you afford it? Think about it. Think of ways that you could do it. If you really want it, you can get it. Going back on my point on how you think about it determines how you feel about it. How you feel about it determines how you act on it. You can change that first bit. You can change how you think about it. When you start thinking, how can I? It will start changing your feelings, meaning it will start changing your actions. That's huge. Start doing that, stuff will start to open up for you. I'm sure it will. The next fundamental is to educate yourself. I think everyone should be educating themselves in terms of personal finance in general. Don't just watch this video. I'm sure you won't. Watch others and read others. Listen to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or read it, whatever. To always try and learn stuff. I think that's really powerful. But in this case, I'm actually talking about your personal finances. You in your entirety, you're like your own little business. You have outgoings, you have incomings, like you pay for stuff, you buy stuff. In that sort of sense, you want to understand what you're paying for, what you're buying, how much you're making, and all of that sort of stuff. And it can sound really daunting. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, I just get paid this and money just comes out. But not understanding exactly where money is going or coming from, you'll be open to a lot of holes. Someone could have cloned one of your cards and they're spending little amounts on it, and because they're little amounts, you're not actually seeing that, so they're just scamming money off you and you're not able to see it. The easiest way to get around this, or the easiest way to educate yourself about your personal finances, is to download all your apps, stick them in one folder on your phone, and just look at them every day. Sounds really boring, and it might take a little while to set up initially because you need to find all the passwords and stuff. But trust me, when you do this, like, your personal finance knowledge on you, it will grow massively. It takes less than 5 minutes. So I do this every morning. I check my phone even before I open my socials, only because, like, as soon as I open my socials, like, it just runs away with you and you'll end up forgetting about it. So every morning I just look at my finance folder, any of my credit card spends, that they look normal. I also do check my credit rate every day as well. It just gives me a good idea of what is happening, or if my credit rating is changing or anything like that. So yeah, make sure you do that. That is like a huge one. It's brilliant. It's really good for you and your personal finance knowledge. The third thing is to always spend on a credit card. You may have been told differently otherwise because credit cards are bad. They are bad if you don't have the right mentality. When people get credit cards, they automatically think, let's say you get a credit card and you have £2,000 to spend on it. You automatically think you have £2,000 at your disposal now. That's not the way we should be thinking about it. It's true in a sense, but you don't want to be spending £2,000 now if you don't have £2,000 to pay back. What you want to do with a credit card is you want to spend it normally, so you're buying your normal shopping, your lunch, and instead of using cash directly from your current account, you're using a credit card. Now, there's quite a lot of advantages for spending on a credit card. The first thing is that you don't have to pay any interest for like 50 odd days, I think. So that's every credit card. All you need to do, if you are 100% you're not going to pay interest, you just need to make sure that your direct debit is set full balance. So that's every credit card. If your credit is shot, there are loads of credit cards out there that still accept you if you have bad credit. Don't worry about the interest rate. Just get a credit card because you're never going to pay the interest rate. Have that in your head. You're never going to pay the interest. You're never going to pay the interest because it's always going to be paid back in full. If you do have bad credit, it actually helps build your credit. So you're building a profile of yourself, showing to like other lenders that you're able to borrow money and pay it back. This over time will just get bigger and bigger, i.e. if you wanted to get another credit card with a bigger balance on it, you'll be able to do that. Or if you wanted to get a mortgage, you want to build your credit. Like, it will just come in handy for you in future for if you want to get a mortgage and stuff like that. So building credit is definitely up there for a good reason to spend on a credit card. The next great thing about spending on a credit card is that you keep your spend all in one place. So if you're spending on your current account, for example, you're going to have your expenses as well as your direct debits, as well as your other bills, standing orders, they're all going to be in this one place. So trying to pull out all of your little expenditures if you're trying to budget is going to be a pain. Whereas if you were just to spend all of your expenses on the one credit card, you have that there and it gets taken out in bulk. So when you're looking at your current account statement, you can see that, oh, this month I spent 400 quid on expenses, you know, living expenses, food or whatever. And then next month, because you're looking at your finances every day, if it's 500 quid, you could question that. You could be like, hold on a second, I remember 400 quid got taken out last month as all my overall spend. Why is it 500 quid this month? And then you can start looking into it further. And instead of trying to go down and looking at all your little expenses on your current account, if you were spending on a current account, you could just download your statement from your credit card and check it all out there. The last thing, I'm not 100% sure of like the full details on this, but I know credit cards have extra protection. If you were to get hit by fraud, for example, they've got you covered. And even if they couldn't reclaim the money back from whoever the fraud was, I believe they have a certain amount of like leeway that they have to provide to you. You do your own research on that because I'm not 100% sure, but I do know there's extra protection when you're spending on a credit card. Okay, so the next thing is a bit random, I think anyway, because it's not widely said, but I believe everyone should have a float in their current account. So you get paid in your current account and then your zero is your zero, then you hit direct debit and then direct debit starts becoming charges. Not sure if you know my story, I'm sure I'll explain it somewhere or it's probably on my website. I was in debt before, and when I was in debt before, I'd basically get paid, and then next thing you know, before I got paid, I'd be under, so I'd be in the zero minus a couple £100. Because I'm in my overdraft, which is what the minus is in your current account, I'm paying interest on that. My way of tackling that for the future, and it's something that I take away and do now, is that instead of my zero being zero, my zero is £2,000, £3,000, £4,000. It's actually 3 months of my salary, but just do it how you want to do it, you know. So what essentially I'm saying is that your zero shouldn't be a zero. Your zero should be a float amount, let's say 2 months salary. And then you know that 2 months salary is say £5,000. Every time your bank balance hits below £5,000, you're thinking, hold on a second, alarm bells, I'm spending more than I'm earning. Why is that? So for me, it just gives you a little more time if you are spending more than you should do, and then you're realizing it now. Because you're not in your overdraft, you're just in your float, you're not spending any interest, which is great, which means you've got time to figure out why and you've got time to rectify it. And it also just gives you a peace of mind, like a warning to say, hold on a second, something is wrong here. You're overspending, now change it. It just gives you that peace of mind that you can do that without actually having to pay hefty overdraft fees. Next thing is what everyone talks about. It's like a rainy day fund. And, you know, depending where you are in your financial journey, if you're trying to get out of debt, don't worry about a rainy day fund, pay off your debt. Personally, that's how I would look at it. Your debt is wasting money. But if you're in a process of like you're trying to build yourself a portfolio, you're trying to understand your personal finance foundations, then definitely have like a pot of money that is just sitting there in a high interest savings account that's easy access, that you can withdraw whenever you need to. The value really depends on you. Everyone will say a percentage of what you're earning or whatever. Really depends on you. Just have something there so that you're saving money for a rainy day. The way I would do this, I would just try and put a little bit aside. The rainy day fund, hopefully that you won't need to tap into it, but just make sure you're doing something to ensure that every month a bit of money is going out to it. And now we've come to the final point that I can think of anyway. If there's anything I have missed, please do let me know. Drop me a comment or drop me a DM, that'd be awesome. The last thing that I can think of is to invest. Invest in yourself and invest first. If you watch other YouTube videos like this, they will always say to pay yourself first. And that is very true, because if you don't pay yourself first, you're never going to pay yourself at all. What I mean by that is, let's say you earn $1,000, or let's say you earn $2,000 a month, and you pay yourself $1,000, and then you know that you have outgoings of 1,200 a month. So you've got 200 quid there that you need to pay, say for your electricity, and you don't have it because you paid yourself $1,000. What's going to happen is that the electricity provider, they're going to chase you for that 200 quid. They're going to say to you, yo, you owe me 200 quid, pay me. Here's a letter, you owe this money, which means you will find your way to pay it, like, because you have to. Whereas if you don't pay yourself first, like if you pay yourself last, you're not going to hound yourself to do that. You're not going to say to yourself, you owe me 200 quid. You're just not going to pay yourself. And that's the importance of like making sure that as soon as you've been paid, or as soon as you've got money, take some of that and put it somewhere that's yours. Put it somewhere where you can like just invest it. Don't save it, because saving will lose you money. Stick it in an investment like an ETF or an index fund, and just let that grow over time. And that is it for today. So thank you very much for bearing with me. Let me just quickly summarize the points. So the first point was to change your money mindset. The second point was to educate yourself about your personal finances. The third was to always spend on a credit card where possible. The next one was keeping a float of cash so that your zero isn't actually a zero in your bank account. Your zero is actually $2,000 or $4,000 or whatever it is you decide. The next point was a rainy day fund. Make sure you have one of those so you have some money to fall back on in case anything crazy happens. And then lastly was to invest, pay yourself first, and keep that going. All right, so thank you very much for today. Thank you for your time. I love that you were here. Please drop me a comment. Let me know how it went. Let me know if I forgot anything, and I will see you on the next one.